Hello?
Oh, I can't believe it. Are we actually in the Matrix?
नहीं बे, ये स्टूडियो तो भांडुप में।
तो कैसा लगा कोल्ड ओपन?
अच्छा था, लेकिन हम लोग उल्टा किया ना। नॉर्मली फोन उठा के तू मैट्रिक्स के बाहर जाता है, अपन मैट्रिक्स के अंदर आए।
बाबा कभी तो खुश रहना लाइफ में। हाँ, इतना खर्चा करके ये पूरा लोग को जैकेट वैकेट चश्मा वो दिख रहा नहीं है तेरे को, उसका प्रॉब्लम है।
मैट्रिक्स में कोई भी खुश नहीं रहता।
So guys, it's going to be a very special video where, as you can see, I mean, I know we've been very subtle, but by looking at us, you can tell that here are three boomers who are going to be fanboying over their favorite action franchise, which is the Matrix series.
Correct.
Do you remember the first time where you were when you watched the Matrix?
I saw it at Sterling Theatre.
अच्छा, तू actually theater में देखा?
Theatre में देखा. I was 19.
How was the experience watching it for the first time as a 19-year-old in a theater?
When you went in, just cinematically it has blown you. Right, because you haven't seen shots like that, you haven't seen that green on that bada parda, it just felt only something else.
99 में पिक्चर रिलीज हुआ, मैं 12 साल का। After one of the summer holidays, during the lunch break, I'm seeing a bunch of guys huddled up and they're doing the backflip. So I was like, bro, ये क्या है? He's like, bro, you have no idea. There's a killer new movie that's come called Matrix.
But you know, any great work of art, whether it's like movie or book वगैरह, उसका one of the like characteristic ये होता है कि तुम जितने साल बाद उसको रिवाइज करते रहो, तुम्हारे मैच्योरिटी के हिसाब से, लाइफ स्टेज के हिसाब से, तो तुमको नया नया ऐसा लगता है कि ओके।
You know, it's one of those movies that I think keeps getting better with repeated viewing.
हाँ, क्योंकि जब तुम स्कूल में देखते हो, तुम्हें यही सब चीजें याद रहती है ना कि ओ क्या एक्शन है ब्रो, वो ऐसा गिर गया, वो बंदूक है, तब तुम नहीं सोच रहे कि फ्री चॉइस, कैरेक्टर आर्ट,
Reality is a simulation.
ओके, कैरेक्टर आर्ट। वही ना, लाइक मैट्रिक्स, the reason people call it the greatest movie of all time is because सिनेमा का जो डिपार्टमेंट होता है ना, इसमें सब कुछ किल है। The story is great, the original story, plot twist, action, cinematography, actors, cameo, everything in this movie है।
And you know, there are very few movies that have such a massive cultural impact, right? Like the visual language of the movie. All we had to do was go out and just put this, and 9 out of 10 people, अरे Matrix.
Correct.
No, but you know, even the terminology, like the red pill and blue pill, one of the most iconic sequences. Like red pilling, I mean, even though it's used by the alt-right, right? The fact that it's gotten into their language, where they're like, red pilling is a scene from an action movie in '99 that is being used as part of vernacular right now.
Dude,
or glitch in the Matrix, even that line.
Glitch in the Matrix, in even today is glitch in, like, to the point where you are using the word Matrix just by the virtue of signifying something that is a simulation, right? Like,
after all this, if I had to ask you, describe the Matrix, तू क्या बोलेगा? चल बाबा, तू तो एडवर्टाइजिंग में काम करता है। Describe the Matrix as a fanboy. अगर देखो किसी ने Matrix नहीं देखा है, उसको बोलना है कुछ कि Matrix के बारे में तू क्या बोले?
I would start to throw the picture देख, but
which is the
तो क्यों नहीं देखा है?
right?
मैंने किसी को बोला था, bro, it is actually a cyberpunk sci-fi action thriller with mind-bending philosophy.
Spoon bending, you mean? You mean spoon bending?
Spoon bending.
एक लाइन में मूवी डिफाइन करना है। The best sci-fi movie ever made with a very nice underlying philosophy with insanely great action.
Or actually, you know who described Matrix the best? Morpheus. Lawrence Fishburne in the movie has described the movie the best.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Which is the best thing to tell somebody also, right? Like,
Which is what the Wachowskis told all the actors. Because they read the script, they're like, ये क्या है? No, don't worry, you just experience it.
मैं जो बोलता हूँ वो कर बस।
no, that's also what happened to all the people who rejected the film.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is the first time Neo starts understanding what it's like in the Matrix. And once you're inside the Matrix, anything you want can happen, right? And suddenly there's this truckload of information that just gets stored into his head. He has the realization, he looks up and he's like,
I know Kung Fu.
Yeah.
one of the most iconic
और उसके
scenes.
बाद?
और उसके बाद Morpheus
Show
को
me.
देखता है बोलता है show me and then फिर वो वाला हो जाता है, right?
Yeah.
It was incredible.
They were like 4 महीना पहले तुम सिर्फ ट्रेनिंग
सिर्फ ये
You know the confidence that a filmmaker would have.
Yeah.
भाई ये सब छोड़ो, पहले सब लोग मुझे चाहिए एकदम authentic.
Yeah.
Everyone had surgery, everyone had injury.
Yeah.
Like you said, कि Keanu had that.
Keanu had a
neck thing.
cervical injury before shooting, so the shooting got pushed, and obviously cervical injury means kicking out becomes tough, which is why you see there's a lot of
Yeah.
hand fighting.
Correct.
Yuko Weaving का hip टूट गया, इसका cervical problem है, Carrie-Anne का हाथ गया.
Because they wanted
Lawrence
कि
Fishburne का बाल गया,
minimum
कुछ
ऐसा इन चीजों में उनको CGI और ये stunt double minimum जितना हो सकता था चाहिए,
No, and
जितना authentic करता.
also, you know, there's this thing. I was watching this interview by Jackie Chan, and he was saying that the reason why his set of martial art films felt so authentic and real, and the battles felt fierce, was because he was like, we showed the hit. You didn't cut on impact.
Yeah.
Right. And Matrix also used a lot of that. Just that shot, you know, like where he comes and he tries to punch and he doesn't reach, so he opens his finger. He opens his hand like that. Karke hota hai, right? All of these little things, and you see it, and it's not on a cut. Like if you see a lot of the films, they'll do the punch and then they cut to the reaction. They don't show the impact. So it's things like that they've all sort of mastered.
Liam Neeson every time he's trying to save his kidnapped daughter, वो ऐसे ही यही सब चल रहा है उसका,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is clearly, you know, that a lot of the movies right now are even 20 years after Matrix came out are so almost subliminally influenced by that style, because it completely revolutionized. एक तो jujitsu था, दूसरा था guns.
Lots of guns.
But off the top of your head, if I had to ask you, there's like every scene in all of the 3 editions we've watched so far are amazing. तेरा favorite अगर मैं action sequence choose करने बोला, I'll start with you, KB.
Okay.
Which one would you rate as your favorite amongst all other favorites?
Yeah, see, the answer is as I mean, I'm thinking of all the action scenes, but I have to go with the most cliched, most discussed thing, which is the bend. Nothing beats the bend. Every time I've read about the scene, कि वो ऐसा they choreographed it frame by frame. They use like 23 cameras,
All in a circle, that's
360 degrees, proper every. अभी शायद देख के लगता है because हर जगह वो use हो चुका
That was going to be my favorite scene, which was the shootout in the lobby with like guns. And it spawned so many copies and adaptations and imitations. But like even the backbend scene, right? It's not just because it looks cool. कि अरे क्या हम लोग 60 camera लेके shoot. It's not that. It's when he does that, you have Trinity say, he's moving like them.
Like that moment he realizes that whole bullet thing where he's like, oh shit, मेरे में ये power है. That realization of the hero and his whole growth as a character is just
And the thing is, you know that
You
typical
can't see our goosebumps through the leather
happening.
jackets.
No,
But like,
We're also not getting them because it's really hard.
But for me, what was interesting to see is कि तूने first किया, चल अच्छा है. When the second one comes in, which was like a good 4-5 years later, are you upping the ante? And how much? And that happens in Matrix Reloaded, where there's a freeway chase sequence, which
It's
like,
one
as
third
I'm
of the
talking,
movie.
huh?
It's one third
It's one third of the movie. Imagine again. But because that doesn't only have a car scene, chase scene, a truck chase scene, it also has her riding a bike in the opposite direction. Right? And 25 minutes and it gets, you're like, yaar, thoda aur dikha.
One of my favorite, most iconic moments, and I remember it at Stoling, which is why it's that, is because the soundtrack also, I mean, we should talk about the soundtrack, but the soundtrack also does it. But you could hear a pin drop when this scene was happening, which is the helicopter hitting the building, right? Like when Neo then just does
When he's trying to save Morpheus.
When he does that and then he holds the thing as the helicopter comes crashing on the... You, like, everybody was like, it was almost like it was a 4D film. We're looking building के ऊपर से ऐसे कि बचेगा कि नहीं. Like it was that. It was outstanding.
एक और action sequence, right? Which again talks about the journey of the character, right? One is backbend करे वो he's moving like him, but he's still not sure. But there's the last subway scene between Neo and Agent Smith,
Where he doesn't
where he
run.
finally believes that he is the one, and he is going to take on, which has a very, you know, Wild Wild West where you had those two cowboys who come in and there's
Tumbleweed.
the tumbleweed that goes in. they have recreated that without cowboys in an underground subway with two guys wearing black.
That duel. Just that thing of like, Neo, run. And he doesn't. And Morpheus says, he believes. Like, there's that. And you're like, oh my God. And you still hold that narrative because when he, in the end, stops the bullet and sees the code as which is sushi menu, sushi recipes.
Yes, by the way, fun fact, the guy who designed the green code rain, as it's called, which again blew our mind because अरे वाह ऐसा भी होता है. What he had
After
done
that,
was
MS-DOS didn't make sense. You wanted to see codes like this only.
So the way he did that, the guy who designed it, his wife had a Japanese cookbook. और उस पे रेसिपी लिखा था. तो उसने वो लेके उसको ग्रीन में छाप दिया. Can you believe it? One of the most iconic frames and codes is actually sushi.
Sushi recipes.
Sushi recipes. In fact, there's that one beautiful sequence which is in Revolutions, if I'm not mistaken, or Reloaded, one of the two, where Neo is fighting almost like 500 Agent Smiths, right? If you watch that again, if you watch this again,
are you talking about the climax or the Oracle sequence? The Oracle
sequence. Full सबको मार रहा है. He tries to fly, ऊपर ये वो कर रहा है. Watch it. It's got भारी reference to what? Dragon Ball Z. Literally, because again, I saw a comparison that they did, right? Identical. Not out of copying or anything, but homage. Just out of homage. Let's do this, but how about we apply this world to these comics or this anime? So to start from that, then become the base and benchmark for all movies that followed later on. Any superhero movie you see, any action sequence you see, anything right now has in some way or form that influence from the Matrix. They won't expressly say it, but it's there. And hardcore fans, when they watch it, they'll be able to do it. So for a franchise to have that big an impact, right? A lot of moving parts need to come together, right? Your direction, your writing, your storyboarding, DOP, fight coordinator. But the main, most important thing is जिसका थोबड़ा दिख रहा है, जो acting कर रहा है. All of those people have to hold and get all of this together, right? Now, Matrix is such a franchise that when you see the actors and you try and shut your eyes कि यार ये और कौन कर सकता था? Nobody else comes to mind.
It's
Nobody.
It's one of those things where it's like you would think it, and it's perfectly cast, right?
Perfect. Like I don't know what works better. You can't think of anybody else.
You can't.
Right? And especially Keanu Reeves, because I think him being cast in the movie was the birth of getting edgy superhero, so to speak. Because Neo in a way is a superhero, right? But he's not your buff, you know, like getting power from the lightning, or you know, not one of those typical superheroes. He's a very regular, not really buffed, unsure. That guy to become your central character.
It's like a true origin story.
Like the first few scenes of Neo are in an office cubicle, right? तो दिखता है कि हाँ ये ऑफिस में काम करता होगा यार, उसको बहुत बुला के डांट रहा है, लेट क्यों है ये वो, रात में जाके हैकिंग वैकिंग कर रहा है, तो ऐसा दिख रहा है वो.
Correct.
And you close your eyes, like you said, you think of Trinity, you can't imagine anyone now.
And the thing is, you're talking about like the main cast, and I completely agree with you. You can't imagine. And Hugo Weaving, right? Like
I can't believe we mentioned everybody, but we forgot Agent Smith.
Agent Smith.
Fun fact, you know who he was inspired by for the voice and everything?
Wachowski.
The Wachowski.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to look far for any impression. He heard them talk and he took their voice, and that's Agent Smith's voice.
Like I think everybody was so perfectly fit into the scheme of things where and what was great is their looks within the Matrix and their looks outside the Matrix was so well crafted, and everything about it was...
No, even the very clear distinction between what is the Matrix and what is the real world. Like, if you're a first time watcher, you'll know, acha, ye Matrix mein abhi. Acha, nahi, ye real world mein abhi. The production design was just incredible.
मेरे दिमाग में अभी भी Hugo Weaving का आवाज ही चल रहा है. It's so iconic.
Okay, so we've spoken about pretty much everything there is to speak about the Matrix. But abhi mudde pe aate hain, right?
Exactly.
Why is it that the three of us are here, beaming year to year, wearing leather trench coats in 42 degrees heat in Mumbai
and still beaming.
Beaming is because we are super excited that after many years of waiting, right, and most of our young life having passed, we finally brought in the 4th installment of the Matrix franchise.
Correct.
Matrix Resurrections. So before we go into talking about that, let's have a look at the trailer.
I've had dreams that weren't just dreams. Am I crazy? We don't use that word in here. Back to the Matrix.
If there is one way to describe this trailer, it's whoa. Right? ऐसा trailer काटना चाहिए. If this doesn't get people excited, I don't know what else can. So, first impression of the trailer, matlab this is the 100th time I'm watching it, so it's my 100th impression. But you know what I love? First and foremost, they began with White Rabbit, which is one of my favorite songs. Okay, made by one of my favorite bands, Jefferson Airplane, and also ties everything back to the first one.
Yeah.
Now, what is interesting is that if people remember, towards the end of the third one, Neo and Trinity.
One sec, should we say spoiler alert if you've not seen the movie in 20 years? Then please.
Guys,
Statue of Limitations is over.
it's over. It's been 20 years. If you've not watched it, well, too bad. Please go and watch it. But at the end of the third one, Neo and Trinity both died. Right? Morpheus, now people must be wondering, why is there a new Morpheus? Like, he looks different. It's
Why is
because-
Morpheus morphed?
Yeah. Nice one. But Morpheus also died. He died in the video game.
Yeah.
Right? So now, suddenly, is this the new Matrix? Is it the old Matrix? Because we learned at the end of the third one that was the sixth
version.
iteration of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Right? So this technically is the 7th one. So is it a new Matrix?
But is it the
same?
7th one? We don't know.
Is it the 7th one?
Yeah.
Plus, I'm really excited to see Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, the
Right?
trailer, पहला वाला trailer starts with him. Like, अरे ये
I was like, yes, matlab, can this get any better?
Correct.
Right? You know, for hardcore fanboys like us, the minute you see some reference to the first
Yes.
one, to the second one, you're like, यार ये मजा आने वाला है, ये मजा आने वाला
दो
है.
moments एकदम ऐसा जैसे आपने बोला ना, like when they meet first in the trailer,
Yeah.
when you know Neo and
Yeah.
and like have we met before? And you're like, oh, of course.
If you see Red Pill, Blue Pill wala,
Yeah.
now they have remixed the original Morpheus Neo scene with this
Yeah.
new Morpheus and Neo scene.
Yeah.
Right? That one. There is also a part where he says, I still know Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Again, one of the most iconic scenes, you're seeing that. And for most of us Indians, one really good
Yes.
thing is the fact that we have one of our own, Priyanka Chopra,
Yes.
who's going to be a part of Resurrections, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of it from her point of view. When in 99, she, just like us, was also sitting watching The Matrix. Who would have thunk
Oh yeah.
that
man.
20 years hence,
Yeah.
you're going to be a
In the
part
Matrix,
of it.
yeah,
Which
yeah.
is why I have hope.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Just like her. Maybe 20 years later, there is another iteration of the Matrix. Wachowskis, if you're watching, I have the look ready, I'm agile, I can do the backward bend, and I'm good at karate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just play the video of us fighting.
Matrix लोखंडवा.
Yes, hi Morpheus. Look at this.
What I'm also excited to see is there's a narrative arc to it which will be interesting because it's going like how do you surprise people who know Trinity and Neo and their relationship?
You know, the scenes that I saw with both of them together, right? I can have a feeling that Neo is the one, but again, he's not entirely the one. I feel there is something to do with Trinity, and it's this one and this one coming together to
form
make
the
a
one.
bigger one.
0.5.
Yeah.
0.5 making 2.
ट्रेलर में एक लाइन बोलता है Neo, which is like, you don't know who I am. And you know that sort of summarize कि नहीं पता है यार. But it also gives you that goosebump कि तो हमको पता है यार. तो नियो है यार.
और मेरे को लैंडलाइन देखना है इसमें. क्योंकि अभी तो फोन है. अभी क्या चल रहा है?
Which is also surprising because landline नहीं है trailer में.
नहीं है. So the point of this whole thing was to get you guys to go watch Matrix 4 Resurrection, which is available on Prime Video, as are the other 3 movies. So just like Morpheus gave Neo 2 choices, red pill or blue pill, you guys have 2 choices. Either watch this video and then go watch the movie, or watch this video and go watch the movie.
Correct. Because you've already made your choice. The only question is why.
Yeah. Alright guys, so that's it. I don't think we can fanboy anymore. I think we just need fans because this thing is very hot. So you guys go enjoy the movie and we'll see you outside the Matrix. Or inside. I don't know. Hello sir, यहाँ से बाहर कैसे निकलते? Hello? काट दिया.